Arawak and later by Carib Indians. The Virgin Islands were settled by the Dutch in 1648 and then annexed by the English in 1672. The islands were part of the British colony of the Leeward Islands from 1870 to 1960. They were granted autonomy in 1967. The economy is closely tied to the larger and more populous U.S. Virgin Islands to the west. The U.S. dollar is the legal currency. On the 6th of September 2017, Hurricane Irma devastated the island of Tortola. An estimated 80% of residential and business structures were destroyed or damaged, communications disrupted, and local roads rendered impassable.
Geography.
British Virgin Islands.
Location: Caribbean, between the Caribbean Sea and the North Atlantic Ocean, east of Puerto Rico.
Geographic coordinates: 1830 N, 6430 W.
Map references: Central America and the Caribbean.
Area: total
151 square kilometers.
Land:
151 square kilometers.
Water:
0 square kilometers.
Note:
Comprised of 16 inhabited and more than 20 uninhabited islands. Includes the islands of Tortola, Anegada, Virgin Gorda, Jost Van Dyke.
Country comparison to the world:
220.
Area: comparative, about 0.9 times the size of Washington, D.C.
Land boundaries: 0 kilometers.
Coastline: 80 kilometers.
Maritime claims: territorial sea.
3 nanometers.
Exclusive fishing zone:
200 nanometers.
Climate: subtropical, humid. Temperatures moderated by trade winds.
Terrain: Coral Islands relatively flat, Volcanic Islands steep, hilly.
Elevation: 0 m lowest point.
Caribbean Sea:
521 highest point.
Mount Sage.
Natural resources: NEGL, pleasant climate, beaches foster tourism.
Land use: agricultural land,
46.7%.
arable land,
6.7%. Permanent crops,
6.7%. Permanent pasture,
33.3%.
forest,
24.3%.
other,
29%.
irrigated land, NAP.
Population distribution: a fairly even distribution throughout the inhabited islands, with the largest islands of Tortola, Anegada, Virgin Gorda, and Jost Van Dyke having the largest populations.
Natural hazards: hurricanes and tropical storms, July to October.
Environment: current issues: limited natural freshwater resources except for a few seasonal streams and springs on Tortola. Most of the island's water supply comes from desalination plants. Sewage and mining/industry waste contribute to water pollution, threatening coral reefs.
Geography: note, strong ties to nearby U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico.
People and society:
British Virgin Islands.
Population: 35,802.
Country comparison to the world:
214.
Nationality: noun,
British Virgin Islander, S.
Adjective:
British Virgin Islander.
Ethnic groups: African, black 76.3%, Latino 5.5%, white 5.4%, mixed 5.3%, Indian 2.1%, East Indian 1.6%, other 3%, unspecified 0.8%.
Languages: English, official.
Religions: Protestant 70.2%, Methodist 17.6%, Church of God 10.4%, Anglican 9.5%, Seventh-day Adventist 9.0%, Pentecostal 8.2%, Baptist 7.4%, New Testament Church of God 6.9%, other Protestant 1.2%, Roman Catholic 8.9%, Jehovah's Witness 2.5%, Hindu 1.9%, other 6.2%, non 7.9%, unspecified 2.4%.
Age structure: 0 to 14 years.
16.72%, male 2,949/female 3,036.
15 to 24 years.
12.98%. Male 2,223/female 2,425.
25 to 54 years.
49.05%. Male 8,230/female 9,330.
55 to 64 years.
11.93%. Male 2,073/female 2,199.
65 years and over.
9.32%. male 1611/female 1726.
Population pyramid.
Population pyramid.
Median age, total.
36.7 years.
Male.
36.5 years.
Female.
36.9 years.
Country comparison to the world.
72.
Population growth rate, 2.2%.
Country comparison to the world.
36.
Birth rate, 11.1 births out of 1,000 population.
Country comparison to the world.
176.
Death rate, 5.2 deaths out of 1,000 population.
Country comparison to the world.
188.
Net migration rate, 16.5 migrants out of 1,000 population.
Country comparison to the world.
1.
Population distribution. A fairly even distribution throughout the inhabited islands, with the largest islands of Tortola, Anegada, Virgin Gorda, and Jost Van Dyke having the largest populations.
Urbanization. Urban population.
47.7% of total population.
Rate of urbanization.
2.42% annual rate of change.
Major urban areas. Population. 15,000 road town. Capital.
Sex ratio at birth.
1.03 male/s/female.
0 to 14 years.
0.97 male/s/female.
15 to 24 years.
0.92 male/s/female.
25 to 54 years.
0.89 male/s/female.
55 to 64 years.
0.95 male/s/female.
65 years and over.
0.95 male/s/female.
Total population.
0.92 male/s/female.
Infant mortality rate, total.
11.7 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Male.
13.4 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Female.
10 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Country comparison to the world.
120.
Life expectancy at birth, total population.
78.9 years.
Male.
77.5 years.
Female.
80.4 years.
Country comparison to the world.
54.
Total fertility rate, 1.3 children born/woman.
Country comparison to the world.
218.
Drinking water source. Improved.
Urban.
98% of population.
Rural.
98% of population.
Total.
98% of population.
Unimproved.
Urban.
2% of population.
Rural.
2% of population.
Total.
2% of population.
Sanitation facility access. Improved.
Urban.
97.5% of population.
Rural.
97.5% of population.
Total.
97.5% of population.
Unimproved.
Urban.
2.5% of population.
Rural.
2.5% of population.
Total.
2.5% of population.
HIV/AIDS. Adult prevalence rate. NA.
HIV/AIDS. People living with HIV/AIDS. NA.
HIV/AIDS. Deaths. NA.
Education expenditures. 6.3% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
28.
School life expectancy. Primary to tertiary education.
School life expectancy, SLE, is the total number of years of schooling, primary to tertiary, that a child can expect to receive, assuming that the probability of his or her being enrolled in school at any particular future age is equal to the current enrollment ratio at that age. Caution must be maintained when utilizing this indicator in international comparisons. For example, a year or grade completed in one country is not necessarily the same in terms of educational content or quality. More school life expectancy, primary to tertiary education, field listing.
Total.
14 years.
Male.
NA.
Female.
NA.
Government.
British Virgin Islands.
Country name. Conventional long form.
None.
Conventional short form.
British Virgin Islands.
Abbreviation.
V.
Etymology.
The myriad islets, cays, and rocks surrounding the major islands reminded explorer Christopher Columbus in 1493 of St. Ursula and her 11,000 virgin followers. Santa Ursula was once Milvirgines, which over time shortened to the Virgins, Las Virgines.
Dependency status. Overseas territory of the UK. Internal self-governing.
Government type. Parliamentary democracy. House of Assembly. Self-governing overseas territory of the UK.
Capital. Name.
Road town.
Geographic coordinates.
1825 N. 6437 Watt.
Time difference.
UK4. 1 hour ahead of Washington, D.C., during standard time.
Administrative divisions. None. Overseas territory of the UK.
Independence.
For most countries, this entry gives the date that sovereignty was achieved and from which nation, empire, or trusteeship. For the other countries, the date given may not represent independence in the strict sense, but rather some significant nationhood event such as the traditional founding date or the date of unification, federation, confederation, establishment, fundamental change in the form of government, or state succession. For a number of countries, the establishment of statehood. More independence field listing.
None. Overseas territory of the UK.
National holiday. Territory Day. 1 July, 1956.
Constitution. Several previous, latest effective the 15th of June 2007. The Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007.
Legal system. English common law.
Citizenship. See United Kingdom.
Suffrage. 18 years of age. Universal.
Executive branch. Chief of State.
Queen Elizabeth II, since the 6th of February 1952, represented by Governor Gus Jaspert, since the 22nd of August 2017.
Head of Government.
Premier Orlando Smith, since the 9th of November 2011.
Cabinet.
Executive Council appointed by the Governor from members of the House of Assembly.
Elections/appointments.
The monarchy is hereditary. Governor appointed by the monarch, following legislative elections. The leader of the majority party or majority coalition usually appointed premier by the governor.
Legislative branch. Description.
Unicameral House of Assembly, 15 seats, 13 members, 9 in single-seat constituencies and 4 at-large seats directly elected by simple majority vote and 2 ex officio members. The Attorney General and the Speaker, chosen from outside the House. Members serve 4-year terms.
Elections.
Last held on the 8th of June 2015. Next to be held in 2019.
Election results.
Percent of vote by party, NDP 60.2%, VIP 30.2%, PEP 4%, other 5.6%. Seats by party, NDP 11, VIP 2, composition. Men 12, women 3. Percent of women 20%.
Judicial branch. Highest courts.
The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, ECSC, is the superior court of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. The ECSC, headquartered on St. Lucia, consists of the Court of Appeal, headed by the Chief Justice and 4 judges, and the High Court with 18 judges. The Court of Appeal is itinerant, traveling to member states on a schedule to hear appeals from the High Court and subordinate courts. High Court judges reside at the member states with 3 on the British Virgin Islands.
Judge selection in term of office.
Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court Chief Justice appointed by Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. Other justices and judges appointed by the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. Court of Appeal justices appointed for life with mandatory retirement at age 65. High Court judges appointed for life with mandatory retirement at age 62.
Subordinate courts.
Magistrates' courts.
Political parties and leaders. National Democratic Party or NDP. Myron Warwin.
People's Empowerment Party or PEP, Alvin Christopher.
Virgin Islands Party or VIP. Julian Fraser.
International Organization Participation, CARICOM, Associate, CDB, Interpol, Sub-Euro, IOC, X, UNESCO, Associate, APU.
Diplomatic representation in the US. None. Overseas territory of the UK.
Diplomatic representation from the US. None. Overseas territory of the UK.
Flag description. Blue with the flag of the UK in the upper hoist side quadrant and the Virgin Islander coat of arms centered in the outer half of the flag. The coat of arms depicts a woman flanked on either side by a vertical column of 6 oil lamps above a scroll bearing the Latin word vigilate, be watchful. The islands were named by Columbus in 1493 in honor of St. Ursula and her 11 virgin followers. Some sources say 11,000, who reputedly were martyred by the Huns in the 4th or 5th century. The figure on the banner holding a lamp represents the saint. The other lamps symbolize her followers.
National symbols. Zenada dove, white cedar flower. National colors.
Yellow, green, red, white, blue.
National anthem. Note.
As a territory of the United Kingdom, God Save the Queen is official. See United Kingdom.
Economy.
British Virgin Islands.
Economy. Overview. The economy, one of the most stable and prosperous in the Caribbean, is highly dependent on tourism, which generates an estimated 45% of the national income. More than 934,000 tourists, mainly from the US, visited the islands in 2008. Because of traditionally close links with the US Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands has used the US dollar as its currency since 1959.
Livestock raising is the most important agricultural activity. Poor soils limit the island's ability to meet domestic food requirements.
In the mid-1980s, the government began offering offshore registration to companies wishing to incorporate in the islands, and incorporation fees now generate substantial revenues. Roughly 400,000 companies were on the offshore registry by year-end 2000. The adoption of a comprehensive insurance law in late 1994, which provides a blanket of confidentiality with regulated statutory gateways for investigation of criminal offences, made the British Virgin Islands even more attractive to international business.
GDP, purchasing power parity, $500 million,
$490.2 million.
$481.1 million,
Country comparison to the world.
213,
GDP, official exchange rate, $1.028 billion.
GDP, real growth rate, 2%,
1.9%.
1.8%,
Country comparison to the world.
149,
GDP, per capita. PPP, $34,200.
country comparison to the world,
59.
GDP, composition, by end use, household consumption,
25.1%.
government consumption,
7.5%.
investment in fixed capital,
21.7%.
investment in inventories,
20.4%.
exports of goods and services,
94.7%.
imports of goods and services,
minus 69.4%.
GDP, composition, by sector of origin, agriculture,
0.2%.
industry,
6.8%.
services,
93.1%.
agriculture, products, fruits, vegetables, livestock, poultry, fish,
Industries, tourism, light industry, construction, rum, concrete block, offshore banking center.
industrial production growth rate, 1.1%,
Country comparison to the world.
152,
Labor force, 12,770.
country comparison to the world,
215.
labor force by occupation, agriculture,
0.6%.
industry,
40%.
services,
59.4%.
unemployment rate, 2.9%,
Country comparison to the world.
32,
Population below poverty line.
national estimates of the percentage of the population falling below the poverty line are based on surveys of subgroups, with the results weighted by the number of people in each group. Definitions of poverty vary considerably among nations. For example, rich nations generally employ more generous standards of poverty than poor nations. Population below poverty line field listing.
Nah.
Household income or consumption by percentage share.
Data on household income or consumption come from household surveys, the results adjusted for household size. Nations use different standards and procedures in collecting and adjusting the data. Surveys based on income will normally show a more unequal distribution than surveys based on consumption. The quality of surveys is improving with time, yet caution is still necessary in making inter-country comparisons. Household income or consumption by percentage share field listing.
Lowest 10%.
Nah.
Highest 10%.
Nah.
Budget. Revenues.
400 million.
Expenditures.
400 million.
Taxes and other revenues. 38.9% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
50.
Budget surplus, plus, or deficit, dash, 0% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
44.
Fiscal year. The 1st of April. The 31st of March.
Inflation rate, consumer prices, 1.1%.
1.1%.
Country comparison to the world.
56.
Current account balance, $362.6 million.
$279.8 million.
Country comparison to the world.
57.
Exports, $23 million.
$23 million.
Country comparison to the world.
209.
Exports, commodities, rum, fresh fish, fruits, animals, gravel, sand.
Imports, $300 million NAR.
$210 million.
Country comparison to the world.
203.
Imports, commodities, building materials, automobiles, foodstuffs, machinery.
Debt, External $36.1 million. 1997.
Country comparison to the world.
198.
Exchange rates. The US dollar is used.
Energy.
British Virgin Islands.
Electricity. Production. 126.3 million kWh.
Country comparison to the world.
198.
Electricity consumption. 117.5 million.
Country comparison to the world.
200.
Electricity. Exports. 0 kilowatt-hours.
Country comparison to the world.
110.
Electricity imports. 0 kilowatt-hours.
Country comparison to the world.
128.
Electricity. Installed generating capacity. 45,200 kilowatts.
Country comparison to the world.
193.
Electricity from fossil fuels. 97% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
33.
Electricity from nuclear fuels. 0% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
55.
Electricity from hydroelectric plants. 0% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
160.
Electricity from other renewable sources. 3% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
122.
Crude oil production. 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
114.
Crude oil exports. 0 barrel day.
Country comparison to the world.
98.
Crude oil imports. 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
101.
Crude oil proved reserves. 0 barrel.
Country comparison to the world.
111.
Refined petroleum products production. 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
123.
Refined petroleum products consumption. 20,000 barrel day.
Country comparison to the world.
141.
Refined petroleum products exports. 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
134.
Refined petroleum products imports. 1,227 barrel day.
Country comparison to the world.
200.
Natural gas production. 0 qm.
Country comparison to the world.
109.
Natural gas consumption. 0 cubic meters.
Country comparison to the world.
125.
Natural gas exports. 0 qm.
Country comparison to the world.
74.
Natural gas imports. 0 cubic meters.
Country comparison to the world.
96.
Natural gas proved reserves. 0 qm.
Country comparison to the world.
115.
Carbon dioxide emissions from consumption of energy. 183,300 Mount.
Country comparison to the world.
202.
Communications.
British Virgin Islands.
Telephones, fixed lines, total subscriptions.
10,004.
Subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
29.
Country comparison to the world.
195.
Telephones, mobile cellular, total subscriptions.
42,000.
Subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
126.
Country comparison to the world.
203.
Telephone system, general assessment.
Good overall telephone service. Major expansion sectors include the mobile telephony and data segments, which continue to appeal to operator investment. Several operators licensed to provide services within individual markets. Most of them are small and localized.
Domestic.
Fixed line connections exceed 29 per 100 persons and mobile cellular subscribership is roughly 125 per 100 persons.
International.
Country code 1284, connected via submarine cable to Bermuda, the East Caribbean Fiber System, ECFS. Submarine cable provides connectivity to 13 other islands in the Eastern Caribbean.
Broadcast media. One private TV station. Multi-channel TV is available from cable and satellite subscription services. About a half dozen private radio stations.
Internet country code .vg.
Internet users, total.
14,600.
Percent of population.
43.6%.
Country comparison to the world.
210.
Transportation.
British Virgin Islands.
National Air Transport System. Number of registered air carriers.
1.
Inventory of registered aircraft operated by air carriers.
3.
Civil aircraft registration country code prefix. Bell.
Airports. 4.
Country comparison to the world.
185.
Airports, with paved runways, total.
2.
914 to 1,523 m.
1.
Under 914 m.
1.
Airports, with unpaved runways, total.
2.
914 to 1,523 m.
2.
Roadways, total.
200 kilometers.
Paved.
200 kilometers.
Country comparison to the world.
148.
Merchant marine.
Merchant marine may be defined as all ships engaged in the carriage of goods, or all commercial vessels, as opposed to all non-military ships, which excludes tugs, fishing vessels, offshore oil rigs, etc.
Total.
20.
By type.
General cargo 4, other 16.
Country comparison to the world.
138.
Ports and terminals. Major seaport.